Welcome once again to our discussion on the politics of Jesus. We are now on our fourth segment, and we are looking again at two issues surrounding the politics of Jesus. The first one is a famous title that is found in the book of Isaiah, but also used in the New Testament, the servant of Yahweh, or the servant of God. And the second bit is found mainly in the book of John, in chapter 14 and in chapter 16, where Jesus says to his disciples, "I leave you peace, my own peace I give you, not as the world gives it, but as I give it to you." We will look at these two, and if we had more time, there are a lot of paradoxes that Jesus turns around. First of all, the servant of Yahweh. As I pointed out, and as you'll be able to read in the handout, the concept of the servant of Yahweh is found in the book of Isaiah. Again, three possible interpretations are possible. Possibly four or even more, but we shall limit ourselves to three. Just as we saw with regard to the Son of Man, even with the servant of Yahweh, you can interpret the servant of Yahweh in an individual or individualistic perspective, that it referred to a special individual. It could have been a prophet or a king who suffered and used his sufferings in order to atone for the sins of the rest. That seems to be the very common way of interpreting it. But there's another one, the collective interpretation. Again, the collective interpretation can be that those who had been taken into exile in Babylon and those who came back and had been faithful, they are called the remnant, those who remained faithful. These can be described as collectively the Son of Man. The third one is a combination of the individual as well as the collective. Now, Jesus applies the concept of servant of Yahweh to himself. Again, when you hear the word servant, immediately when you are trying to apply to somebody who is going to liberate you, somebody who is going to do something dramatic, something salvific, something redemptive, what does the servant bring to your mind when you hear the word servant? How do you see that?
So, like, it's someone almost that's kind of lower than you are, someone that's just kind of there to do what other people don't want to do almost.
That's right. That it's somebody who perhaps is considered to be the lowest in society. And for us, it's absolutely amazing that Jesus is applied this particular title. Now, if you read in Acts chapter 8, which is included in your handout, there was a person traveling from Jerusalem going back to Ethiopia, probably the first African to be converted to Christianity. He was reading one of the texts from Isaiah, the servant of Yahweh text, but he had no clue what it was about. Then Philip, one of the evangelists, joins him, and then he asks Philip and says, "This man who suffered so much, about whom is he speaking? Is he speaking about himself or about Jesus?" Then Philip obviously explains that Jesus understood himself as the servant of Yahweh. Again, the paradox lies that Jesus uses the lowest title in order to achieve the greatest achievement. And one of the greatest achievements is the promise of peace, which we will now have a look at. As I pointed out, Jesus promises peace in John chapter 14 and in chapter 6. But before we explain the significance, when you hear the word peace, or in ordinary speech, what is peace? What does it describe?
Like quiet or stillness and just a good feeling. Yeah.
Yes, quiet, stillness, a good feeling, and what else?
Inner happiness.
Inner happiness, yes. Anything else?
I guess a kind of a time where everyone kind of loves each other and everyone's in a nice calm state and there's nothing wrong in that place or time.
I think that probably is the most popular way people think of peace. In a way, peace, whether you have thought about it or not, is described or understood by most people in very negative terms. And I explain what I mean by negative terms. I do not mean that peace is a negative thing. What I mean is that for most people, peace is the absence of conflict. So if there is no conflict, if there is no hassle outside, people have peace. That's mostly what we think of. For instance, if we said, well, there is no peace in the Middle East, what we mean is there is war, there is strife. Now, the Hebrew concept, or even the Greek concept of peace, is actually a very positive thing. It's much more. Again, the paradox. We think of peace almost as if it's a very passive, there is nothing going on, therefore there is a lot of peace and quiet. Like the holidays that are coming up, when I come here into the office, there's nobody around, and I say, oh, there's peace and quiet. That isn't peace. Peace, which Jesus brought, is wholeness, completeness. It is about being at one with other people. It's being at one with society. It's being at one even with nature. Because if you break the relationship with nature, as we have done through pollution, for instance, we cannot have peace. So peace is wholeness with oneself to begin with, and I think that's where, when you pointed out sort of inner happiness or inner peace, that's the first level. The second level is being at one with your neighbor. The third one is being at one with just the rest of the whole of creation. There's a fourth one, and probably most important. It's being at peace or at one with your maker, with your creator. And that's the richness of the concept. And that's a very revolutionary concept, because the people who are promoting peace are promoting the absence of conflict. But the kind of peace Jesus is promoting is the kind of peace you can have even when things are wrong around you. Even when people are persecuting you, you can still have inner peace. In the next clip, we will look at two very specific examples of how Jesus invites us to respond to the politics of Jesus. Thank you.